People who grew up in the 1970s have a unique psychology. Their experiences shaped a mindset that feels hard to explain. To those born after 2000, understanding their childhood is challenging. The 1970s generation was raised in an era of freedom and danger. They lived through a type of childhood that's hard to imagine today. If kids today experience the same, parents would likely be arrested. Yet those years created a mindset still evident in their lives. It influences how they think, argue, trust, love, and survive. This article dives into what shaped their psychology and experience. The 1970s generation's childhood built a resilience that stays with them. People who grew up in the 1970s were largely unsupervised. They didn't have constant monitoring from their parents or teachers. If they disappeared for hours, nobody would even think twice. There were no phones to check in, no GPS to track them. They only had a bicycle, a few friends, and freedom. They were told to be home before dark, but no pressure. The rules were flexible, and there was trust in independence. This gave them an unparalleled sense of freedom and self-reliance. They were trusted to handle situations on their own, no questions. No one was around to provide constant guidance or reminders. This freedom created an inner confidence in navigating the world. It shaped how they approach life today, independent and self-sufficient. It's a mindset that's rare in today's constantly monitored world. Most people from the 1970s were raised by post-World War II parents. These parents saw real hardship, fear, and sacrifice in their lives. They lived through hunger, fear of war, and difficult economic conditions. Yet, despite the struggles, they rarely spoke about their trauma. They didn't break down emotionally or complain about their circumstances. Instead, they focused on surviving and providing for their families. This survival mindset was passed down silently to their children. The 1970s generation didn't have parents who coddled or overprotected them. Instead, they were raised by parents who didn't sugarcoat reality. The older generation showed their kids how to face adversity head-on. They worked long hours without seeking validation or recognition. The 1970s children learned that survival meant working hard and persevering. Responsibility wasn't taught through formal lessons. It was learned through experience. They were expected to contribute, fix problems, and figure things out. When something broke, their parents didn't replace it. They repaired it. This taught them that life requires practical problem-solving and resilience. There was no room for self-pity or helplessness in this environment. The mindset was clear: adapt, fix things, and keep moving forward. This is why people from the 1970s matured much faster than others. They learned real responsibility, not through theory, but through real-life experience. This deep sense of responsibility wasn't something you could learn from a course. It was ingrained in them from the way they were raised. Their childhood shaped them to be self-reliant, dependable, and resilient. The 1970s generation was shaped by a world full of challenges. They saw their parents work tirelessly without any complaints. Parents didn't seek attention for their hard work. They simply did it. The children of the 1970s watched their parents quietly carry burdens. Their parents didn't take photos of their struggles for social media. They didn't share their good deeds for validation or recognition. Instead, they simply supported each other in their communities. Neighbors helped one another without seeking anything in return. This quiet support taught the 1970s generation the value of dependability. They learned that responsibility and support are integral to life. In this environment, problems weren't avoided. They were solved without hesitation. The 1970s generation was taught that life is tough, but manageable. When things went wrong, they didn't panic. They adapted and overcame. This created a generation that was grounded and practical in approach. They learned to be resourceful because they had to be. If something broke, they didn't replace it. They repaired it. This mindset carried into adulthood, where they became self-sufficient. The world they grew up in taught them resilience at a young age. They didn't expect someone else to fix their problems. They did it. The lessons learned in childhood still affect how they view the world. The 1970s generation knows life is serious, but they can handle it. The 1970s generation is a bridge between two very different worlds. They grew up in a world where everything was slower. The world was raw, real, and less influenced by technology. They had time to reflect, be present, and appreciate the moment. Yet they also witnessed the rapid rise of the digital age. They watched technology explode, changing everything around them. The shift from a quiet, simple world to a noisy digital one. This made them unique, as they understand both sides of the divide. They remember a time when the internet didn't dominate life, but they also adapted to the world where it does. Zennials and millennials may not fully understand this experience. The 1970s generation was grounded in reality, yet open to change. They understand what it means to disconnect and be truly present. But they also see the potential and benefits of technology. This unique experience has shaped them into confident, balanced individuals. They don't feel the need to impress. They just live authentically. Their confidence comes from surviving and thriving in a changing world. They are grounded because they remember both the past and future. This generation's strength lies in its ability to navigate transitions. The new generation faces a world of constant distractions and overstimulation. They grow up with phones in hand before learning to talk. From a young age, their brains are constantly absorbing information. Notifications, messages, and videos overwhelm their minds every day. Their attention spans are short, constantly shifting from one thing. They're overwhelmed by the pressure to stay connected and perfect. Social media amplifies this pressure, making comparison inevitable. They compare themselves with others, even without realizing they're doing it. Despite doing well, they still feel like they're falling behind. Their minds never fully rest because technology is always calling. Even when they try to relax, they're still scrolling their phones. This constant mental stimulation prevents them from truly resting. The new generation is smart, creative, and open-minded, yet exhausted. They're emotionally drained, mentally overstimulated, and often overwhelmed. They live in a world that moves too fast to keep up, and they're trying to survive it, one notification at a time. This overstimulation impacts their ability to focus and find peace. They can connect instantly, but it comes with mental exhaustion. The 1970s generation faced real challenges and didn't shy away. They didn't have constant distractions or endless entertainment to rely on. They learned the value of strength through real-life struggles. It wasn't taught in a classroom. It was learned through experience. They lived in a world that required them to adapt constantly. Strength didn't come from knowledge. It came from surviving adversity. They understood that life is tough, but they could handle it. They learned to find solutions instead of waiting for help. Their parents taught them resilience by example, not through words. Through this, they developed an inner strength that's rarely found today. This generation didn't expect someone else to fix their problems. They faced life's difficulties head-on and figured things out themselves. This mindset has remained with them as they face modern challenges. While today's generation is overstimulated, they were grounded and patient. They learned to be mentally tough through experiences, not comfort. They didn't need constant guidance. They trusted their ability to survive. Strength isn't about being told what to do. It's about doing it.